He was 25 years old, broke and embarrassed. A Girl Scout knocked on his door selling cookies, and Jim Rohn had to tell her he couldn't afford $2. That moment of shame ignited something inside him that would eventually transform over 20 million lives. The philosophy he discovered didn't just change his bank account. It rewrote the rules of success itself. Within 6 years, this farm boy from Idaho became a millionaire. But here's what made him legendary. He didn't keep the secrets to himself. Wisdom that transforms everything. From Tony Robbins to countless entrepreneurs, world leaders, and ordinary people desperate for change, Jim Rohn's words became the blueprint. Today, we unlock the philosophy that turned a broke, defeated young man into the father of personal development. The wake-up call. Picture this, it's 1955, and Jim Rohn is staring at a little girl holding a box of cookies. She's asking for $2, and he doesn't have it. Not because he forgot his wallet, not because he spent it somewhere else. He simply doesn't have $2 to his name. I was 25 years old, I'd been to college. I'd been working for 6 years, and I didn't have $2 in my pocket. That's the moment that breaks most people. But Jim Rohn made a different choice. Instead of making excuses, instead of blaming the economy, his boss, or his circumstances, he asked himself a revolutionary question. What if it's me? What if I'm the problem? And in that brutal moment of honesty, everything shifted. He realized that his results were not a reflection of the world around him, but a reflection of the person within him. Most people never have this awakening. They spend their entire lives pointing fingers outward when the answer was always inside. But this moment of shame became his greatest gift, because what happened next would change the trajectory of millions. The mentor arrives. 3 weeks after that humiliating moment, fate intervened. Jim Rohn met a man named Earl Schoaf, a wealthy entrepreneur who would become the architect of his transformation. But Earl didn't give him money. He didn't give him a job. He gave him something far more valuable, a new philosophy. Mr. Rohn, if you will change, everything will change for you. Think about that. Not if you change your job, not if you change your location, not if you change your spouse or your circumstances. If you change. Earl taught him that success is not something you pursue, it's something you attract by the person you become. Become more than you are. If the philosophy that brought Jim Rohn from broke to breakthrough is resonating with you, hit like and subscribe to unlock more wisdom that transforms lives. Because what Earl Schoaf revealed next became the foundation of everything Jim would teach for the next 40 years. The question wasn't how to get more, it was how to become more. The 5 people. Here's one of the most quoted principles in personal development history, and it came from Jim Rohn's observations. Proximity. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Let that sink in. Look at your closest circle right now. What do they talk about? What do they value? What are their habits? Because whether you realize it or not, their thinking is becoming your thinking. Their standards are becoming your standards. Jim discovered this wasn't just social theory, it was mathematical reality. Your income will be the average of the 5 people around you, but it goes deeper than money. Your health, your happiness, your ambition, all of it is influenced by proximity. You cannot hang out with negative people and expect to live a positive life. This isn't about abandoning old friends. It's about being intentional. It's about asking yourself, who am I becoming because of who I'm around? And if that answer frightens you, perhaps it's time to expand your circle. Work on yourself. Most people spend their lives working on their jobs. They show up, punch the clock, collect the paycheck. But Jim Rohn taught something radically different. Work harder on yourself. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job, because your job will pay the bills, but working on yourself will make you a fortune. What does this mean practically? It means every single day is an opportunity for self-investment. Reading books, listening to wisdom, developing new skills, expanding your mind. Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. Jim committed to reading 1 book per week. He attended seminars. He sought mentors. And he didn't wait until he had time, he made time. The greatest investment you'll ever make is in your own development. Most people invest in stocks, real estate, retirement accounts. But they forget to invest in the one asset that produces all the others, themselves. The tragedy isn't dying poor. The tragedy is dying having never become what you were capable of becoming. The seasons of life. Jim Rohn didn't just teach success, he taught acceptance. One of his most profound teachings was borrowed from the rhythms of nature itself. Life operates in seasons, and you cannot change the seasons. Winter will come, the economy will crash, relationships will end, health will fail. You cannot control the seasons. But here's what you can control: what you do during each season. You cannot change the seasons, but you can change yourself. In spring, plant abundantly. In summer, nurture what you've planted. In fall, harvest with gratitude. And in winter, prepare. The problem is most people panic when winter arrives. They weren't expecting it. They didn't prepare. But the wise person knows winter always comes. And the only question is whether you'll be ready. Jim taught that spring follows winter. Always. The darkness doesn't last. But the seeds you plant in the difficult seasons determine the harvest you reap when the sun returns. Discipline is freedom. Here's a paradox that confused Jim Rohn for years, until he finally understood it. Discipline. Most people think discipline is restriction. It's giving things up. It's suffering. But Jim taught the exact opposite. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Daily disciplines create future success. The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. Every day you have a choice: do the easy thing now and suffer later, or do the hard thing now and celebrate later. We must all suffer from one of two pains: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. What disciplines are you avoiding right now? That book you should be reading? That workout you keep postponing? That conversation you need to have? Those small disciplines, compounded over time, create extraordinary results. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. And failure, that's nothing more than a few errors in judgment repeated every day. The choice is always yours. Profits are better. Jim Rohn said something that changed how millions think about money. Profits are better than wages. Wages make you a living. Profits make you a fortune. But this wasn't just about becoming an entrepreneur. It was about understanding the difference between trading time for money and creating value that multiplies. When you work for wages, there's a ceiling: 24 hours in a day, one pair of hands, one brain. But when you focus on creating value, the ceiling disappears. Create more value than cost. Jim didn't teach people to quit their jobs tomorrow. He taught them to develop skills that create leverage, to think in terms of value delivered, not hours worked. Find a way to serve the many, because service to many leads to greatness. The wealthiest people in history understood this. They found ways to serve millions, and in return they received millions. What value are you creating? Who are you serving? And how can you serve more? These questions will determine your financial future. Goals pull you. Most people set goals. Few people understand what goals actually do. Jim Rohn taught that goals are not just targets to hit. Goals are magnets that pull you toward the future. When you set a clear, compelling goal, something shifts. You begin to see opportunities you never noticed before. You attract resources, people, and ideas that move you forward. What you get by achieving your goals is not as important as what you become by achieving your goals. But here's the key: your goals must be bigger than your current self. They must require you to grow. Jim taught the importance of writing goals down, reviewing them daily, connecting them to your why, not because it's magic, but because clarity creates momentum. If you want to be wealthy, study wealth. And if you want to be happy, study happiness. Vague goals produce vague results. Crystal clear goals produce crystal clear results. What's pulling you toward tomorrow? The gift of giving. By the time Jim Rohn became wealthy, he discovered something that surprised him. The accumulation wasn't the reward. The contribution was. Give and you shall receive. Jim taught that giving is not just about money. It's about time, wisdom, attention, and love. And the more you give, the more returns to you, often from unexpected sources. Only by giving are you able to receive more than you already have. Think about the people who changed your life. Weren't they givers? Didn't they invest in you without expecting anything in return? Jim Rohn spent the final decades of his life giving away everything he'd learned, speaking to audiences, mentoring young entrepreneurs, recording his wisdom for future generations. Giving starts the receiving process. What are you giving right now? Because the seeds you plant in others determine the harvest that returns to you. Your philosophy. Of all the things Jim Rohn taught, one idea rises above the rest. Philosophy. Your personal philosophy is the greatest determining factor in how your life works out. Not the government, not the economy, not your boss, not your upbringing. Your philosophy. Your philosophy determines whether you will go for the disciplines or continue the errors. Philosophy is how you think about life. It's the lens through which you interpret everything. Two people can face the exact same circumstance. One sees opportunity, the other sees disaster. The difference? Philosophy. Change your philosophy, change life. Jim Rohn didn't just teach techniques. He taught people to think differently, to see the world through a lens of possibility instead of limitation. And when your philosophy changes, everything changes. That's why his advice has changed 20 million lives, because he didn't give people fish. He didn't even teach them to fish. He changed how they thought about fishing entirely. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. That's philosophy, and it changes everything. Jim Rohn passed away in 2009, but his words echo louder today than ever before. The philosophy of human development never expires. From that broke 25-year-old who couldn't afford Girl Scout cookies, to the man who mentored Tony Robbins, transformed millions of entrepreneurs, and became the father of modern personal development, his journey proves one thing. It's never too late to change your philosophy. It's never too late to become more. It's never too late to invest in yourself, surround yourself with greatness, and decide that your future will not be determined by your past. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Your future is being designed now. Every book you read, every discipline you practice, every goal you set, it's all building the person you're becoming. If you made it this far, comment philosophy change to prove you're ready to transform your thinking. The wisdom of Jim Rohn is now yours. Use it well. If this unlocked something in you, subscribe for more wisdom that transforms.